Steve here, December 1773. With me as always is Ryan. This is episode 114 of the weekly show, all of the week's hottest topics with a twist. If it wasn't half my show, I'd be fired for the second week in a row I was not recording. It's okay, we didn't get very far. Good news, Ryan. By the way, all major platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, especially Rumble. Rumble is the free speech alternative to YouTube. And the reason I'm specifically saying that is because we had a video banned again on YouTube, but then we appealed it and it came back. So this time we won our appeal. Ryan, before we get into Trevor Noah stepping down, do you have anything for us at all?
Hello, David, as always. Hello, everybody. Thank you. I just want to open up. Dave and I, we spoke earlier in this week behind the scenes with the December people here on the chat and everything about the episode being removed. Now, I did this on the first take, but the second take, it's episode 22. We are on episode 114. So it took them nearly 2 years to remove a video based on election interference. Mm-hmm. I just find
misinformation.
Yeah. It just seems like every time that one of these occurrences happen, it's when we start gaining traction in the algorithm. We gained about 5 subs in the last 2 weeks, and we also had 3 videos that were in the hundreds of views, and then one of the 3 was in the 300 view range. So it doesn't sound like a lot, but we only have 70-something subs, and we have high retention rate on our audience. So once again, thank you, everybody. But more importantly, it's just I always find it ironic when we start really ticking and making traction in the lane that Dave and I are creating for ourselves, we get substantially throttled or something. So, and in all of my life of coincidences, this is probably the least coincidental thing, considering it's happened more than a few times now.
Yeah. So, and we know we're being throttled. To be clear. I don't think it's any secret at all. And as I had stated, Ryan, unlike Trevor Noah, who's leaving the Daily Show, we don't have the billions of dollars from Viacom to keep us afloat. We have to just do it on our own. So everything we do here, it's us and you watching, and we appreciate everybody watching, of course. And we're going to fight through it. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what YouTube does. We'll battle through it, and if we battle through it on Rumble, then we'll battle through it on Rumble. That's fine with me.
I'll make December 1774,
We'll just go up a year every time they actually ban it.
Yeah. At some point, we'll catch up to current times.
Oh, God, that wouldn't be good. That'd be bad news.
Taking America back to its roots. Well, what year are you in? 2023?
Let's get to Trevor Noah. He is stepping down totally on his own and for no other reason than he just needs to step down and go do stand-up comedy.
The Trump presidency, the pandemic, just the journey of, more pandemic. And I realized that after the 7 years, my time is up.
Gasp.
Yeah. Truly made this. You truly made this.
I love the audience pan. I still love it. The pandemic and the more pandemic.
It's amazing the very people that champion the pandemic are blaming the pandemic on why they have to change everything. We got to do this to prevent sickness from killing people. Be okay. And we did it all, and they're damn it. Because of the pandemic?
Or because of Trump. Trump and the pandemic. Trump made the pandemic worse, remember?
Yeah, do you remember Democrats having the Bush bailout, and now they got the big T bailout and then the big P?
Ryan, I was thinking about Trevor Noah stepping down. It's been on my brain. Not that much, because it's not that important, quite frankly. Let's be honest. The Daily Show was over as soon as Jon Stewart left. And it's reflected very clearly in the ratings. In 2013, with Jon Stewart, it was averaging 2.5 million nightly viewers. And then when it's originally switched over, it was averaging just a little over 800,000, which is way less than half. And then now it's below even less than half of that. So obviously viewership has totally flunked under Trevor Noah. I guarantee people at Comedy Central and above Comedy Central stepped in and said, like, listen, we can't have this. We need to turn this thing up. And obviously you're not the guy for the job. So he can have, and don't get me wrong, it was the whole thing he did was, was classy and whatever. And he's whatever. The point is, it's not him leaving. He's being fired, whether it's going to come out and get admitted or not. He's being fired. That's what's happening.
Yeah, what's they say? Show's got to go on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this show's like the left will eat their own first. It's something always been known. I actually have a personal story I'd like to get to a little later about something similar like this, but it's just interesting because these are the very people that always speak about being open and accepting people, and then like the very people they employ, or in this case, somebody that they pick to represent comedy for a certain space of people. Even that space of people don't like the things that they're creating in the space that they say is for these people. And it shows, we spoke about the culture war really being able to be won on the side of freedom and liberty, which is a right-leaned idea, let's be honest here.
Mm-hmm. And we found that out during the Canadian trucker rally. Remember, wasn't it freedom was a tag word or something along those lines?
Yeah. What's the Canadian truckers? Canadian truckers did what now? So it's just, once again, these people can't even make shit for their own audience. And I'm supposed to believe that they have not solutions, we'll say, but they have the certain formula for success for a country at a grand scheme, but they can't even do artwork correctly. They can't make movies. They can't make TV shows. They can't make comedy. They can't make news that is actually newsworthy. People do it on the internet better. Once again, we're in the age of influencers. He obviously has no influence. People don't like him, so they need to get somebody that can. And that's awfully hard to do now when everybody on fucking TikTok could be an influencer.
This is what Tate was speaking of, really, is the viewers versus fans. He clearly doesn't have fans.
No, because those viewers are going somewhere for their news, right, David? It's not like, let's be honest, like most of the people that follow this kind of stream have either followed it for a long time, or once they get involved, they don't really stop. You might take breaks because it's stressful or whatever, right? Like I know I did that after the Trump presidency. I took a little break from a lot of the intense, following because it was just so overwhelming. But like generally, everybody normally, if you're in the space, you stay in the space. It's like a sports fan normally doesn't stop sports. It's just very interesting. Like those viewers have to go somewhere. They're not just going to naturally just be like, oh yeah, I don't follow any news anymore, and it's not, like they're going somewhere. They found somebody on TikTok. They found somebody on YouTube. They found, hopefully it was Pat David, but like, yeah, it's just interesting. It's very interesting. And numbers, those numbers for the Daily Show in particular, if they'll swing presidential elections with mail-in voting, they will sway Daily Show numbers so they don't show exactly how completely bullshit their programming really is.
Yeah, well, TV viewership numbers have always been skewed in many ways, and I don't think I'm sure it does happen on purpose as well, but I don't think it's necessarily always on purpose either. I mean, go to an airport and look at the TV, it's CNN. That's half their viewership is empty chairs in an airport. The only thing that I really want to say about the Trevor Noah thing, if they think of replacing him with somebody as woke or more woke, which is what I suspect they'll do, they might as well keep Trevor Noah because they're missing the point. This is it's been proven time and time again that these companies, the American people don't want this woke nonsense. They just don't.
Why make it then, David? Like, do you think that they can just
because they want to force the culture war, Ryan?
Yeah,
it's a losing proposition.
Window? Is this Overton window that they just keep getting more people? When this don't work, they'll get an extreme guy. So they're like, I kind of like Trevor Noah, even though some of the shit that Trevor Noah said was extreme, right? Like they're able to keep moving us to more extreme things. Like at first it was just canceling people. Next it's going to be gassing people,
Yeah. It very well could be those things, Ryan. I mean, I honestly wouldn't doubt that for a second. I mean, honestly, Jon Stewart in his day, he's considered moderate now, but he, at the time he was considered, a Democrat, guy on the air. And now if you look back at him, he's kind of like Bill Maher. It's like Well, he really isn't like a lefty. He's just centered.
He just wants like taxes on rich people, basically. And apparently, like unchecked immigration, honestly, is really like a crowning thing of Democrats now, which it wasn't. Once again, back in the '90s when they talked about erecting pieces of structural defenses at the southern border, like a fence. It wasn't a wall; it was just a fence. Well, how big's the fence? Size of a wall.
Big enough.
Big enough.
Yeah, that leads us to the Microsoft NBC, Ryan, Bill Gates News Network, because we're talking about hurricanes now. It's hurricane season, of course, when hurricanes are happening like they have forever, and this is what climate scientists at I'm sorry, not regular NBC. I don't want to deliver this misinformation here. At Microsoft's version of NBC, this is what they had to say about hurricanes.
There is a lot that has changed about the Earth that has made these things worse, right? I mean, these things are thriving because the water is getting warmer. And I think when we stopped calling it global warming for political reasons, but that's what it is, right? Our Earth is getting warmer, and there is just no doubt, I think, left that it is feeding these beasts.
So well, and where it comes out is in the intensity. The people say, well, there have been hurricanes for millennia. Well, that's true. But we sometimes get these ones that are so much more damaging and so much more intense. And it's good that we talk about these things in the moment, because lots of times over the years when I brought it up, people said, oh, now's not the time to talk about it.
That's right.
Now's the time to talk about it, because the only time people are paying attention to how damaging these things are.
Are they admitting that they hijack your emotions during times of tragedy to push maybe or maybe not political statements, and that's why we have to change our words from global warming to climate change?
They did fully admit all of those things, Ryan. It's the famous saying the quiet part out loud, which they've been doing more and more of lately.
Dude, holy fuck. People, you pay.
Well, that's why we had to change the global warming, because, it is global warming, but we wanted to call it climate change because you can't really debate climate change, because climate change always happens, forever, always.
It's funny, she said for political purposes, not that you were fucking wrong. Like, there isn't... Yeah, we've had hurricanes for 2,000 millennia. Yeah, we've had it for millennia. Yeah. But humans are 100 million years old.
Yes. Correct.
We were alive when there was dinosaurs, but I kind of worry.
Here's the thing about climate science, Ryan. Without trying to... I'm gonna try to tiptoe it. Without being called for disinformation or misinformation, but certainly it's not Russian disinformation. It's just right-wing disinformation for some reason. Here's the thing with climate science. First of all, with any science, scientists are humans, and humans can be manipulated. Data can be manipulated. So I'm going to start there. With that said, the data that they're getting to push this narrative about hurricanes being worse now because of climate change, not global warming. They had to change that term for political reasons. The data they're getting is just based on flawed science. And let's just real quick, just a couple things. G19 is what the writer at Forbes refers to this scientific paper. He refers to it as G19. It's the guy's initial and the year. The first big problem with G19 is that it purports to say something about climatological trends in hurricanes, but it uses no actual climate data on hurricanes.
Why not, David?
Well, because it wouldn't push the narrative they want. But that does beg the question, Ryan, if they're not using data from hurricanes, what data are they using? Well, they're using economic data. It uses data on economic losses from hurricanes to arrive at their conclusions about climate trends. Well, Ryan, if things are more expensive now than they used to be, then your economic loss is going to be greater.
Yeah, every year forever, because the dollar loses it because of inflation.
So that's just one way that they swing the data. They say, well, let's not look at, I don't know, things like how many hurricanes they are. Or,
David.
If only they had a rating system for hurricanes where they could judge the scope of the hurricane. They don't look at those items. They look at insurance claims, basically.
So they use loss of property damages and businesses money and like the damage of the state, the level of state emergency funding, all these numbers, and correlate it to data on how hurricanes are getting more and more intense because it's causing X more amount of dollars equated to damage and property loss.
Yeah, that's correct.
And then they're also able to simultaneously fuck the economy up to even make losses worse.
You mean like having record inflation numbers?
I seem to think about stocks today that out of all the dismal options in the market, these are sure ways to keep growing your money. That's some growth recessionary talk for you right there. Yeah, this is crazy. Yeah. They can't control the weather, but they can control the economy and then control data about the weather on the economy.
Yeah, and to make it worse, the paper also does one other thing that's kind of going to skew the numbers just a little bit. For example, from 1900 to 1958, the first half of the period under study, NOAA, who is specifically there to talk about hurricanes, reports that there were 117 hurricanes that struck mainland, but in the contrast, the G19 has only 92. So they're, quote, missing 25 hurricanes. Well, they're not missing them. They just didn't account for them all because we got to skew our numbers.
Yeah, sure. That will throw some averages off, just missing 1 in 4 hurricanes.
Yeah, they use economic data, and then they take away 25 of the hurricanes. And I thought, well, that's pretty bad. But those numbers, if I remember correctly, what was, bringing up the date, 1900 to 1958? Well, there's a lot of years missing. Well, the second half of the data set from 59 to 17, they just added an extra 64 hurricanes because they want to make it seem like there's more hurricanes recently than there used to be.
What, are they including like smaller hurricanes or like water spouts or?
It's just hurricanes. Like in Florida, like it kind of rained a little hard today in Florida. I think that's let's chalk that up to the old hurricanes.
G.5 hurricane.
We got a 1/4 inch of water here. It's a real hurricane out there. This is what I mean about science and climate science and scientists and scientific data and everything can be skewed to fit whatever narrative you want. I promise you. There's always a human element. So we have to be aware of that when we're talking about things like getting rid of your sovereignty and making everything global in an effort to fix the climate that you can't solve. Fix a climate that you can't do anything with. You can't make the climate fix itself. That's not how it works. Just by taxing money from people.
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that time that Bill Gates said there's too many people on the planet. We got to make one of these numbers go down, and then they tell us we're overpopulated, so none of us reproduce, and then
yeah, that's crazy. Could you imagine if that guy had his own media source? I don't know, MSNBC.
Yeah, it'd be crazy if the guy owned the railroads and all the places that cook all of our food and make all our food. That'd be crazy too.
Oh, that's crazy. Could you imagine if that guy also swallowed up all the farmland and then made you eat crickets?
And then also owns the largest foundation on earth that is like literally involved in everything.
Yeah, that's crazy. Could you imagine if that same guy also wanted to force vaccinations with mosquitoes? What was that? Was it mosquitoes?
Yeah, it was malaria. It was malaria. Not even droids, real mosquitoes. They were gonna give the fucking mosquito the vaccine and then just go, all right, go vaccinate.
When you told me that the first time, I thought that was fake.
I thought it was fake too until I went Bill Gates Foundation, malaria, vaccine, mosquito. And it's fucking like a scientific paper, all dorky letters. It's .org or .gov or, yeah, it's all right there.
Bill Gates.
That was what the thing about the fucking cough. When you started digging into that, it was linked back to Rockefeller Foundation. I'm supposed to believe this is not. They already own the virus that's patented about the thing that they're shutting everything down about.
Yeah, that seems suspicious.
Dude, imagine if that just said apolitical now. I forget the last president's name, but imagine if he had like a T Pharmaceutical or something, and he was out there while he was in office, perhaps, toting this vaccine that only his company produced. And then he just happened to sign him a bunch of money. That's like what happened.
It'd be real crazy if that vaccine was also just kicking back money to members of people who were pushing the vaccine narrative, like Dr. Fauci and
David,
the NIH.
Do you remember when we had that insider scoop with an airline pilot that told me that he caught them in basically communist funding of private businesses with scientific data?
Mm-hmm. These people are fucking crazy. Ryan, I don't have a lot of major news, but there's a couple of things we do want to touch on. One of them is going to be quick. One of them is going to be sports. One of them is going to make everybody angry. Which one would you like to do first?
Anger.
You want to go anger first?
Yeah, I want my 1984 hate hour. Hate.
Okay, since we're going anger first, let's talk about, and you brought this up in a text. Let's talk about Ukraine joining NATO. You want to talk about Ukraine joining NATO? That's the anger. I'll give you a final. We can go back to it later.
No, let's do it. That was the most produced piece of fucking signing of shit I've ever seen. I felt like it was a Star Wars movie.
Yeah, it's crazy that this guy whose entire nation is being destroyed isn't just in some third world bunker right now.
I swear that was a green screen. There's no way that guy's just outside. Shoot him!
Yeah, isn't your nation falling right now?
Isn't there fucking cities like right down the street that are death and destruction?
Isn't your capital exploded?
He's annexing 5 of your provinces. That's what it's called. Couldn't think of the name.
We're really rooting for, out of 2 very corrupt nations, we're like rooting for one to out edge the other. And I don't know why. I do know why. For the record, I do know why. It's because of the Bidens. But I don't really know why anybody would be on board with Ukraine joining NATO. First of all, pay up. And not with our fucking money. You get your own money and pay up. Because it costs money to be in NATO, to use our military, which is basically what NATO is, which is why I don't even know why we're fucking a part of it. Think of how crazy NATO is for the Americans. We sign up. We fucking pay for it. We provide our military to save everybody else. And then when nobody else pays, we say, fuck it, use our military anyway. NATO is we get nothing out of NATO at all. We have no advantage to being in NATO.
There's one advantage, David.
What is the advantage of us being in NATO?
The advantage of us being in NATO is that we have a green light to just fuck everybody up if we want.
I don't know if that's true, because who's going to stop us? Switzerland? They want to join NATO, don't they?
That's what I'm saying.
They're worried about Sweden stopping us? Fucking Finland?
I'm just saying. Look at how fast we mobilized money in the United States of America.
We gave it away.
Yeah, in like 6 days.
That's not a good thing.
It took Biden a month to get baby formula figured the fuck out, but we're able to get Ukraine weapons.
Yeah, well, we could have got them baby formula really quickly if they were, if the guys helping Hunter Biden out needed baby formula. I'm sure we would have found some.
Holy fuck, bro. We shipped guns across the globe faster than mothers were able to get bottles for their children.
I'm sure they went to an FFL.
I mean, it's crazy.
You. By the way, Ukraine joining NATO.
There's a reason it hasn't been done already, honestly. You would think if the Ukrainians really have felt like they should be joining NATO, it would have fucking happened. Like, I don't know, when NATO was set up after Second World War,
Well, I got a real problem with these nations. Only when they're scared, only when they're threatened. Ooh, now I want to join NATO. Well, you missed your fucking chance.
Yeah, well,
you should have done it 60 years ago. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, maybe they didn't have any friends of the Ukraine in American politics at the time.
They probably didn't.
That's weird.
Because they're corrupt, like Russia. They're not any better than Russia. I'm sorry, they're not. They're not better than Russia. They just have ties to the Bidens. In fact, that probably makes them worse than Russia.
David, they're Eastern European. They got to be good.
Yeah, well, you got to... I love that got changed, too.
They're Western Asians, David.
No, I'm sorry. No. it should be the United States' call, since we fund the whole fucking thing anyway. No. Finland wants to join? No. Sweden wants to join? No. Ukraine wants to join? Fuck you. Pay us our $60 billion back. And then I won't consider it. I still won't consider it, but pay it back.
Gas is $5. Can't make that cheaper. Let's give Ukraine money.
Not to mention the fact we're a massive part of the reason Russia fucking invaded in the first place.
No. So do you think like somebody blew up that pipeline then?
Nord Stream.
Yeah, you think that was like an act of war? You think it was self-sabotage?
I don't think they fucking blow up on their own. If I were to guess, I've never seen one, just explode without any type of intervention.
Well, David, I just really wonder, if these are like the pretext of war during world wars that we don't really notice while we're going through them. And then a year from now, we're like
in a bunker somewhere down south, below the 33 parallel.
All I'm going to say is this: Ukraine joining NATO.
He has better, for a country that's being destroyed by Russia, there's better production value in his videos than there were in any of Hunter Biden's sexual content on his laptop.
How am I not supposed to believe that it's not staged, though? It looked fake. This is the problem with digital imagery. Like, I don't even know if that's real. I don't fucking live there. And Putin and all the people in Russia think that we're evil in the West. I seen a thing this week that talked about how Putin said that Westerners experiment on our children.
Well, I mean, kinda.
He said it's demonic, and we will not experiment on our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren on this experiment of Western Satanism, basically.
I'm just saying, the left wing of the nation does want to jab them with vaccines that have no long-term studies. They want to give them puberty blockers and shit that they know in some cases will give them things like, cancer, which thankfully Joe Biden will cure soon. I mean, yeah, kind of. We kind of do that, honestly. And I'm not proud of it. I don't think we should.
We idolize people that have sex tapes leaked in the internet, Kim Kardashian, and then we think that like these are good values to teach our daughters because they look attractive. They can just treat men like shit and also suck all the dick they want, and then they find out it ruins their whole life, and then they're never going to be able to have a family and or be a real long-term wife, and then, I don't know, provide in the gift of life that you were given by your ancestors to build a better nation. No, we'll just keep going down the road of sin and fucking immorality. Now, granted, I'm throwing stones in the glass house here, but I'm not acting like I'm a saint, I'm not up here like murdering children. My sister told me some shit, dude. She's a hairdresser. At 6 weeks, children have DNA in their hair follicles. 6 weeks. The fetus. It's not even a person.
Is that when the fake heart starts?
Dude, 6 weeks it has hair follicles.
Yeah. Well, it's its own separate DNA, but it's still the woman's body, right?
It's just like, well, a woman shouldn't have to carry a baby. Well, maybe you should suck every guy's dick that you run into at the bar.
Or because that won't get you pregnant. Hear me out. You continue to do that, okay? But you just, wrap it up.
I see the thing that syphilis is on the rise. I wonder why.
Well, did you see the thing about... you did see it because I think you liked it or commented on it also, but the NPR had something about abortion and what was it? How people...
More people are on birth control.
More people are on birth control because now abortion it may become illegal or something. And it's like, well, that's what people on the right have been saying, is that people are using abortion as birth control. So this kind of proves us right. Like when abortion becomes threatened, right?
Yeah, David, you read the headline.
And people go on birth control more. It's like, well, just do that in the first place.
David, you really read the headline wrong, because all I read was birth control companies make record profit after abortion law is shot down in the Supreme Court. That's what I read. Pfizer's making all this money. Big Pharma's capitalizing and destroying our daughters' insides. We can't get abortion. Give them the birth control pills. Those greedy big pharma corporations caring about my kids now all of a sudden, but they hated them last year. Maybe we are morally bankrupt in the West, and Putin has a point. Just saying.
He might be right. To that point about us being morally bankrupt, I don't want to make it sound. I'm gonna start with this. I don't actually care that much, and I don't think it's that big of a deal. But something about it just rubs me the wrong way, Ryan. It also looks like Lizzo was wearing James Maddison's shirt. It's like 18 sizes too small for her.
There was a fire when he was away, and the only two things that were saved was a portrait of George Washington and this crystal flute right here.
No, there wasn't a fire. The British burned the White House.
Well, yeah, I mean, the results of that was a fire, Ryan. I mean, she wasn't wrong.
It's crystal. It's like playing out of a wine glass. So be patient.
I do have two things I want to say about her playing the flute. First things first, Ryan.
There was a fire and this and a picture of George Washington. Yeah, it's when the British came and burned everything to the fucking ground. Don't include that at your little VFA, whatever perform. Don't teach people something about how these people were assholes after we were like, no, we want freedom, liberty, and life to choose our own fucking destiny and all that shit.
Let me just say this. Two things about her.
Insult to your collective intelligence and history as a nation.
Just two quick things about her playing the flute. One, it's nice that they found something she can't swallow whole. So that's good. Secondly, I don't think James Maddison would ever want her to play his flute. And you can take that any way you want to take that. But I didn't know she knew how to play a flute. So, that was nice, I guess.
Yeah, she's so talented, David. My sister can play the fucking flute. Congratulations, Lizzo.
I kind of wish it was a recorder.
Hot crossbones.
Yeah.
There was a fire, and the only things that were saved. How did the fire get there?
It just started, just like Nord Stream. It just burst into flames. Probably climate change, honestly. Yeah, again, I don't want it to seem like I think it's a big deal. I don't really care that much. I don't give a shit about his flute. But there's just a certain part of me that's just rubbed the wrong way by that.
Honestly, it's kind of cool that they would bring up this relic of American history, and it's like a cool way to take something of our culture and like our ancient culture and reintroduce it into. You just sucked at it. The thing I'm more pissed off about is she just glanced over the War of 1812. I'm just supposed to fucking forget about it. Do you know they burned Buffalo? Literally where I live, they burned it to Lancaster. That's a long way, David.
Yeah.
They burned everything to the ground.
They were a little upset, let's be honest.
Oh, they saved this picture and this cool little crystal flute. It sounds like a wine glass. Yeah, don't worry about the people that starved and fucking died and froze to death because it was the winter.
I mean, listen. The most offensive thing about that, if I'm being honest, was the fact that Lizzo never seems to want to wear clothes. And I don't know if it's she doesn't want to wear clothes or she can't find clothes that fit. But that's far more offensive, in my opinion, than her playing James Maddison's flute. Ryan.
Did you hear what Candace Owens said about her this week?
No.
Yeah, a clip of her circulated. I seen it on my timeline. She was talking about how her fans hate her and they're allowing her to kill herself basically because she's so fat and obese. And everybody's like, "You go, girl, big girls for life," right? Like all these things when her fans like are promoting this super unhealthy behavior, which is obesity. It's like
right, but we'll remember though, if a doctor asks a question about your medical, then it's offensive. Trust
How come I got to eat bugs?
Trust the climate science.
How come I got to eat bugs, but we got overweight people? No steak for me, David.
Trust the climate science, but if your doctor asks you how much you weigh, that's offensive. Ryan, the NFL, we don't talk the NFL a lot, but now that the season's underway, I like getting into it a little bit more. I do like the distraction of the NFL a little bit. But the NFL is going to have a problem on their hands.
Why, David? Why would you say that?
Us as Bills fans, Ryan, do you know what happened to Tua Tagovailoa? That's my best guess at what the fuck. You got like all types of shit blown by your camera. Tua Tagovailoa, who of course is Samoan American, which matters not at all, was hurt in a Bills game when he had smashed off the grass or turf. I don't know what they use in Miami. And we'll just play the clip to kind of give us an idea what's happened here.
On this play, we have Teddy Bridgewater in the game right now.
Look at when he gets up. He is clearly not in the same planet as everybody else.
It's just a back injury, David.
Okay.
They will take him to the sideline
stand
immediately.
He's shaken up clearly. And here he is against the Bengals on Thursday night. Or, I'm sorry, the Zebras.
With the grain, and down he goes. Slung down on his own 48-yard line.
Look at he doesn't even have control of like his hands, his body. It's scary to see that.
Well, the independent doctor who gave him the okay to keep playing now has been fired by the NFL Players Association.
The independent doctor. The reason they don't use team doctors anymore, Ryan, and they still have team doctors, but the reason the concussion protocol goes through an independent doctor is to prevent exactly what happened in the Miami game versus the Bills. Because in that game, when he got up and he was stumbling around like a drunk man, he went back in. It might have been in the second half, but he went back in. And he clearly had a concussion. Let's be honest. I'm not a medical doctor, but that man couldn't stand on his own 2 feet. He was clearly concussed. And they said, go for it, play, you're fine. And then he was still good to go on Thursday night against the Bengals, or the Zebras, as they are when they wear their white and black uniforms.
Sick uniforms.
They look cool, but they look like zebras. There's no other word for it. They look like refs. And he gets thrown down and hurt again. And then the doctor was fired. Well, why was he fired, Ryan? That's the first question we need to ask. Why was he fired? Well, they did an independent review, and clearly they found some shit that still hasn't come out. They fired him. I haven't heard of why. Have you heard why? I haven't heard why. Did they do Did they do another scan of him and find that he most certainly was concussed? Was he paid off by somebody to say he's good to go, slide him back into the game?
Well, this is the thing, right? This is like always been the question about professional sports. Like where's the conspiracy start and where's the bribing begin? So, I don't know if you've caught some of the Pat McAfee things that have happened with his FanDuel betting.
No.
Yeah, he had an interesting one in the Steelers game, and it looked like the Steelers threw the end of the game, basically, for a very odd parlay. I don't know what any of that means. I'm not a gambler. But with that being said, now that gambling, like they're able to almost bet on like the most odd of things, like that Tom Brady will get less than 10 yards rushing in a game or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're able to bet on these odd things now with these very odd parlays and the way they play out.
Always take the under on Tom Brady rushing.
So it's just very It's just very interesting because, once again, who knows where the conspiracies start and stop and when's the bribery start and stop. But, like, you got to really ask yourself, where is the inherent benefit of the NFL lying about concussions and stuff anymore? Where is the inherent benefit? It wouldn't be at the top of that organization. It can't be, right? Like, it just, I mean, they made movies about this. They enacted these new protocols. There was serious things. There was the attack from the union of the players and all that, right? Because the NFL hid it from everybody. Now we've seen the commercials. Now, granted, I don't trust the NFL necessarily to take care of the players. You play a very dangerous game. You know, this is your modern day gladiator. You know the risks. That doesn't mean I want these guys to be hurt because the NFL knew something and held information. Because, once again, they are a model. I've said this 100 times. We should model these people. They're great people. You don't become and chase greatness and be a piece of shit. It just doesn't go together. So, like, the game's got to be safest at the very top so that it's safest at the very bottom. You know, and, like, once again, so where? Is it at the Dolphins organization? Because that's probably the most likely, right? That
something definitely happened there.
Yeah, the owner talked to somebody, or, you know, an independent doctor doesn't mean not affiliated with the fucking organization either. It might just not be somebody that gets a paycheck from Miami Dolphins, but it might be somebody in their network, right? All these fancy insurance names.
Well, it's funny you brought up the owner. I mean, all these owners, I mean, let's be honest, if you own an NFL team, you're not poor, right? So these owners definitely have money to throw around. Would it be crazy for the, you know,
what team got caught fixing games or whatever? Wasn't it? Was it the Browns, or one of the teams was caught fixing games or like throwing games for betting or losing the season on purpose? Like one of these, I think it might have been Miami even.
Yeah, the Dolphins. There was something about that, but I don't think anything ever came of it yet.
I mean, them just admitting, honestly, not to like throw shade at a whole organization football team that I know fucking nothing about, but just when they were like talking about how they made the stadium and then made half of the stadium where the visitors are have no fucking shade. It's like, what are you doing? You're like,
that's kind of scummy, right? We're supposed to be looking out for the players.
Super scummy. Heat stroke can kill you. It can. And then when you get heat stroke, for people who don't, it's literally the same thing as a regular stroke. It's not like, oh, I'm just hot and I pass out. No, your brain has the same like, this is what I'm saying. Like,
it's serious. You know,
and then maybe it says something to our psychology. Now, granted, modern day Coliseum, but like our psychology that we're letting these guys literally go kill themselves for our pleasure.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And that brings up a whole nother aspect. You're talking about the heat stroke and stuff. I think I might have complained about this already in the program, but when the NFL does their scheduling, it just doesn't make sense to me that you have Buffalo and Miami, and then you'll put Buffalo in Miami when Buffalo would be nice, but Miami's like kind of still very hot, right? Heat stroke, and people are getting IVs and shit. That's pretty hot. And then in December, you'll put them in Buffalo when it's super cold and nobody wants to be there. It's like you could just flip the games, and then like Miami would be in Buffalo in September and it'd be a nice fall day, be in the 70s and it'd be nice. And then put Buffalo and Miami in December and it's going to be nice. It'll be in the 70s and it'll be nice.
You would think too, because you would get the Buffalonians to travel there during the slower time of the year because they
don't want to be in fucking Buffalo when it's December, which is the whole reason when Buffalo's building the stadium and they said, oh, we're not putting a roof on it. And I said, you guys are fucking morons. Because nobody wants to be outside. They will do it because Bill's Mafia is fucking nuts. But nobody wants to be outside when it's -6 degrees and snowing, I promise you. They still, every single one of them, if you polled them, would rather be indoors under a roof where it's heated. Guaranteed.
Yeah, I think they're going to do things like that, like have some covered seating, heated seats. They're going to do a bunch of stuff.
They do that now. They have some of those on the like 200 level maybe where there's like heaters above the, you'll see it on the broadcast. There'll be a big red glow from that section because they got heaters and TVs and stuff. The point is, the NFL, there's going to be more investigations into this situation, and they're going to be in trouble. I don't know if necessarily the NFL will be, because like you said, where does it start? Where does it end? Does it benefit the NFL? I don't know.
Yeah, there's
ratings, maybe. I don't know. But definitely more likely to benefit Miami.
It's got to be at like a more localized level. Like, I mean, the NFL has already had to bite the bullet and pay off people. They already got caught. Like, I mean, granted, once again, I don't trust all corporations, but they're not fucking dumb enough to repeat the same mistake they made before. I mean, maybe. But these, there's a reason why they've, gone through all these steps.
Yeah.
So it's just really a shame to see. When I just noticed it there. He really did hit his hand or his head rather. I thought he hit his arm and he froze up, right? Like he like something.
No, that was his head, and inside of his head is a brain. And the brain does all these things like controlling muscles.
Drugs are bad.
I'm telling you, the guy wasn't just doing this because he wanted to do it. Like he's fucked. There's something very wrong with him. And if he plays next week, I'm sorry, there's no hope. There's no hope if he plays next week. Nobody's taking his body seriously. And if I was him, and he's saying all the right things to the media, but if I was him, I'd be pissed off. Because clearly he's not okay.
I would be. This is why Andrew Luck stopped early, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's another thing. Not only is there not an incentive to force some of these guys out, like what was the worst case scenario? Tua was out the rest of that game against Buffalo and maybe the Thursday night game, and then he'd be back. So I don't even know if there's necessarily a ratings argument for the NFL to keep players out because they'll probably be back. If it's a long-term injury, they can't come back anyway because they're obviously too hurt. And if it's something that's borderline, is it really going to kill your ratings for 1 week? I mean, you still have all these other stars. You got professional marketers. Like you'll be fine. You would think.
You would think, man.
Ryan, before we get into your Decembertainment, do you have anything else?
I have just a few things to glance over, yeah. Kamala Harris was in somewhere. I think she was at the DNZ zone and the Koreas over there. And apparently she said we've been allies with North Korea for a while.
Excuse me?
Yeah, our allies in North Korea.
Does she mean South Korea? South Korea is kind of cool. They have Kia and Hyundai and all types of cool stuff.
Look, I also seen a video of Biden talking about how Kamala Harris will not only will she not be the last vice president or female president of the United States. Basically the way he sounded, it sounded like she was already female president.
There's going to be more Kamalas out there.
Jesus Christ. Oh, look.
I hear she's the deep throat goat.
This heels up Harris. This Korean thing, I got approached by 3 separate people about it. And when I heard it, I got very upset. I don't take kindly to my country that my family helped build part of the nation in our own local area and fight in world wars and kill fucking Nazis, okay? My family didn't do all that for me to just watch you praise the ideology that killed hundreds of millions of people in the 20th century. Meanwhile, partner that with the Ukraine-Russia stuff that we're seeing. It's just a perfect access of power. And if you were to know anything about history, not that I know a ton, David, but I know enough about history to know that Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran together may be the strongest axis power ever created in any kind of time in history. Because something that they didn't have last time with China was China didn't have the economy they have now. So, whatever. It's just, we live in incredible times. One last thing here, David, and then, I'll get to my Decembertainment. So, Jordan Peterson was on Piers Morgan this week.
Okay.
As you guys know, great Jordan Peterson fan. I encourage everybody to go check him out. He's helped me tremendously in my life, personally, spiritually, all that shit.
He's one of very few Canadians that I like.
Yeah, not only is he super smart and witty, but he also just challenges a lot of your beliefs and stuff, yada, yada. So he's on Piers Morgan, and he was asked, Olivia Wilde,
yeah, the whore.
Dumb whore. Called him an incel, the incel god. And so he was on Piers Morgan. He was asked about it, and he got real emotional. And he started crying. And he was crying because you could tell that he felt sorry for who he was speaking about. And he was discussing the rise in lonely and sad men. I just want everybody to just think about that. A psychologist, arguably one of the greatest minds in psychology in the last, 20 years for sure. He's up there. He's not the king of all of them. He didn't invent new psychology, but he packaged all these other psychologies, and he's like one of the most famous psychologists in the last 20 years, right? Like, this guy can see stuff that is being, quite frankly, he was mocked for it. Not only was he mocked for crying, but he was also mocked for like defending lonely men. Like, it's
that's weird, because we care about men's mental health, right? At least we pretend to.
And then what did Andrew Tate say, David? Men need to go to the gym, stay strong, get money, all these things right at the same. This is all a week apart, guys. This is 2 weeks, 3 weeks apart. These are weeks apart. These events are happening. And then we're seeing the North Korea thing. And like, think there's weak men everywhere. This isn't healthy. You know, this isn't like, I don't want to get on a soapbox too long about the whole thing, but like, watch how they're treating the men that stand up for other men. You know, and then I came to the realization when I seen all this, propaganda's for the females. The only reason men go along with tyranny is because their wives say it's a good idea. Because we don't have strong enough men in society to look at their wife dead in the face and say, you're wrong. You're wrong. Because they think they're going to get laid, or they think it's easier to not argue with their wife. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. Political motivations only happen with strong men. Political revolution. Tate said this too. But like, I'm telling you, like, it's true. Think about it. George Washington was a bad motherfucker.
Well, we kind of mentioned this last week as well. How if the left is, as you said, want a civil war, which it certainly does seem that way, they're not setting themselves up for success.
What's also dangerous, too, is Jordan Peterson has talked about this in the past, and this is a mass psychology thing. This isn't even exclusive to him, but group crime, young men especially, when they're in their early adolescence into their young 20s, if they don't have strong male role models, or if they're not strong men that are providing things and being part of society, being functional members of society. Remember when we used to be told that? They turn to gangs, violence, crime, rape, violent things, stealing, burglary. Gangs is bad enough. We see it with the black community. But imagine like roaming biker gangs of white suburban degenerates, breaking in, beating up old ladies, stealing stuff. Like, this is, I mean, we got to think. Like, men can't just sit around and play video games and do nothing.
No.
It's self-destructive to our species, but more importantly to the psychology and ego of men. And when a man has a bruised ego, when a man can't look at his own ego and humble himself and make change with the things he does bad and embrace the things he does great, you get these weak men. We get weak leaders. We get women leading. I swear to God, propaganda is made for women. Women consume, like, they're the ones that make all the important decisions in a household. They make less money, but they spend more money on average. Women are in charge of like all of the household income across America. Women have majority of the debt. They make the car decisions, the couch decision, the drape color decision. They basically clothe their husbands and go shopping for them and the kid. I mean, we have men getting set up by a world, by a feminine hierarchy and a feminine matriarchy. And it's not the interest of what's good for the world. Just simply because it's about collectivism. We need to take from everybody and distribute. That's a naturally a feminine thing, man. Like, women are the resource hoarders so that they can make sure children get enough. Why do we think it's going to be any different in politics? It's not bad. I'm not saying we need to not have them in politics. I'm just saying no one's looking at this, that we have these weak men. You know, and women are leading weak men through propaganda about feminism and all these other, it's all interconnected. This is one of the things to destroy us, is the nuclear family. So it just was interesting to me. Of course, they're going to attack Jordan Peterson because he's right-leaning now. He's also trying to run for Canadian Prime Minister, I believe. So just very interesting. Keep your eyes locked to the culture war.
Is that real? I didn't hear that.
Yeah, I think he's trying to do something. Pretty sure.
Okay. Weird. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Is it time, Ryan?
Yeah, I have one other one than that, but I'll do that after.
Are you sure? You can do it now. Whatever works best.
I'll roll this. I'll do this one first. So a little Decembertainment before we get to Decembertainment. I had 2 for you guys this week. I actually was a loyal Rumble subscriber this week, and I tuned in for a Tate speech. It was an emergency meeting.
That's still such an excellent name.
It started on Fresh and Fit's podcast on YouTube, and then you had to go to Rumble to watch the rest of it because it was very cool to see Andrew Tate. He was very humble and spoke highly of God and about God. And he's like, maybe I'm getting old, but I'm just a very simple old man now. I just want to be left alone. Just very interesting. It was cool. But that dude's spirit. He's laughing so hard because he knows that he beat them, not the other way around. It was just wonderful to see. Shout out to Rumble. God bless America. Shout out to Rumble, man.
Follow us on Rumble.
Yeah.
And Tate speech.
And then my other Decembertainment this week, Dave's going to roll a clip of it this week. Andrew Schultz. I came on the podcast a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so. And I told you that Andrew Schultz had a special on Netflix that they pulled because of some jokes, blah, blah, blah. So he released it on himself. You could go rent it. So this week it was on YouTube for free. Now, naturally, before it, maybe it was only going to be a limited time thing. So I just gravitated towards it. And I was not disappointed. Dave's going to roll a clip of it, but I just encourage everybody to check it out. It's great. And maybe we could just roll. We'll do the outro now and roll out with the Andrew Schultz clip because it's fantastic. And it just basically, honestly, it summarizes a lot of things we talked about today and why it's so important to have the conversation. So I appreciate you guys making it to the end. Dave Ryan, December 1773. Catch us live Mondays, Eastern. We drop on Rumble, Facebook, and YouTube. Most importantly, Rumble, as always. You guys made it to the end. I appreciate it. Dave, thank you for your time, and I'll see you guys there for the premiere.
All right, let's roll that Andrew Schultz clip.
Yeah.
We agree on most shit, right? You think that we disagree on a lot, sweetheart? Like what? Really? I went to one of them women's marches, and we had a lot in common. I saw those girls screaming, "Free the nipple!" That sounds pretty good, right? They were screaming, "We should be able to have sex with as many guys as we want." Yes, you should. If we get pregnant, we should be able to abort it. Hopefully. And we need to work so we can pay our half. Hallelujah. Fellas, get down here. It's happening. We've reached common ground. It was unbelievable. These women were fighting for the right to become the men they've always hated. Just walking around with their shirts off, fucking whoever, not worried about the kid. I'm like, are y'all feminists or fuckboys? What is this shit? I'm just saying, we're on the same team, you know what I mean? And that's good because this is as good as it gets, ladies. Y'all can't move anywhere else and it gets better for y'all. You gotta deal with us being sexist. That's a fact. We are fucking sexist. We say stupid shit like women can't drive. Nah. Women can't drive. Nah. But in the Middle East, they're like, no, seriously, women can't drive. So we don't play that shit out here. Are there women driving? Ahmed, give me the fucking stones. These bitches out here driving. Gotta teach them a lesson with stones. I'm not saying there aren't things that y'all gotta go through. Obviously, like you might have a daughter that has low self-esteem because she's comparing herself to these unrealistic images every single day, and that's really fucked up. But in China, you can't have a daughter. So, yeah, you have a daughter, they just mash it into an iPhone. That's the policy. Enjoy your FaceTime. Enjoy your FaceTime. There's a little Chinese girl inside every one of your iPhones. Why do you think when your phone breaks, they say put in a bag of rice? You think that's a coincidence? You think that's a coincidence? It's to soak up her tears, okay? Have some respect. We love y'all, okay? And we want to make you happy. I think most guys want to make you, especially sexually. There's this rumor like we don't care about satisfying you. That's not true at all. We feel pathetic if we don't satisfy you. That shit is just mad difficult. If we're gonna keep it a buck, it's tricky, yo. The clit, I don't know exactly where it is. I still do Ash Wednesday every time I'm down there, dog. Right? Like longitude, latitude, you bump into it. Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. You do that enough times, you get baptized.